I have been a Spider-Man fan for a very, very long time. How long? Well, let's just say that I've had this almost my entire life, and yes, it's a film camera. I don't know if it works, but anyway. I've been there for every single film. I've been to all the press screenings for every film since the first one, and I love this franchise, but I especially love this franchise. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is one of my favorite things to come out in a very long time. I think this franchise holds up better than almost any other franchise. It's almost hard to compare it to any of the other superheroes because none of them have had the run that Tom Holland has had as Spider-Man. It's very cool, and I got to see Brand New Day last night, and I almost ran to sit down to record this then, but I realized the lighting would suck. But anyway, I just knew I had to collect my thoughts because, to be honest, there's a lot to talk about. This is not exactly a slam dunk, but man, is it good. I will say right off the bat, if this is all you're waiting for, I really enjoyed it. I have my complaints, I have my concerns. There's a lot to talk about. There's stuff we can't even talk about because of spoilers. But, you know, this is an epic, wonderful imagining of the next step for Spider-Man. It's very cool to have this moment where it actually feels like we've seen Spider-Man growing up, which I don't think we've seen from very many characters ever. We've actually had this progression where we start out with high school Spider-Man, and now we're getting this basically becoming an adult Spider-Man. And that's actually a big part of what the story is, which is really, really interesting and cool. Destin Daniel Cretton is the reason this film is what it is, I think. I think that's a very cool thing to be able to say because not every director leaves their thumbprint on what they make, but the direction here is a huge part of why this is such a cool film. His legacy, the fact that he made Shang-Chi, and I think Shang-Chi is a deeply underrated, amazing film. His imprint on what he did with that film, what he's done here, is very similar. It's this whole deep dive into a character. And I will say that my first complaint with this film is it is a bit long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and that is kind of long for a Spider-Man film. But I think it's worth the ride. I think the point of that whole storytelling is that we're getting a really huge arc with Spider-Man and the other characters, and that's what I was there for. I mean, I love the action. This, to me, is one of the best action films for Spider-Man. It is some of the best web slinging, some of the best just action sequences overall. Very impressive because that is not always what gets done well, unfortunately. Sometimes we have great films and they don't quite live up to the action side of things, or vice versa. I think this film does both really well, and that's very cool. So the story is pretty straightforward. I mean, in some ways, maybe that's a bit of a complaint, but essentially we've got Peter Parker living his life after the events of the last film where he basically had Doctor Strange cast a spell that made everyone forget who Peter Parker was. So everyone knows who Spider-Man is, but no one knows who Peter Parker is, and that includes his best friend, Ned, and that includes his girlfriend. And that's a very cool place to start. We get this kind of hopeful, childlike almost longing, the fact that he's watching his friends go off through social media, he's watching them become adults. And so in that time, we kind of get a glimpse at the fact that Spider-Man has been working very hard, and that's basically all he does. And he's been trying to stop crime in the city, and he has no life. And so it propels him into this kind of state of like, what am I doing with myself, essentially? And at the same time, he's mutating is the only way I can describe it. He's got the spider side of him kind of pushing back and becoming stronger, and he's trying to suppress and deal with that. And so it's that push and pull between no relationships but wants relationships, and the fact that he can't be with MJ even though he sees her, even kind of glimpses her at one point in the film. and where that all goes. And I love all of it because it sets up this trajectory where he matures. He has to deal with his feelings. He has to deal with, is it his choice to make that he doesn't want his friends or MJ to get hurt? What does all that look like? I guess the only complaint I'd have with this story, of course, is that to some degree it is a bit of a reset on the storytelling with this trio. I'm not going to tell you where it goes. We won't get into that. But essentially that's the idea, that we're resetting that relationship. And can he be the same friend to Ned? Can he be with MJ again? I guess we'll see. You'll see after this where that all leads. But that's kind of cool at the same time that we're getting a mature story, because this very much feels like there's a moment in the first Spider-Man with Tom Holland near the end, and you get that moment where he could very well die. The whole building has collapsed on top of him, and you get that moment of him realizing that he can do this. And that's kind of that moment of going from childhood to being a teen kind of thing. It felt like a moment of growth. This film has the same kind of thing, but it's that step of a teen becoming an adult. And it is very, very cool. It is executed perfectly. It's amazing. I loved everything about that. But then we have to talk about the thing I don't love about talking about this film. And that's that there's been this thing that's supposedly a spoiler. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not a spoiler. The problem with this film, the way it's been marketed at least, is the fact that we've been told that there's this detail that we can't talk about and it's a spoiler. I'm going to tell you right now, it's just a core part of the story. It's supposed to be like a surprise or something. I don't think any of that is true. I think this should have been part of the marketing from the beginning. If you've seen the trailer, you've probably guessed. The last trailer actually gives away most of this. I think it's a mistake that they went this direction, because it means we can't really talk about one core thing here. And I won't talk anymore about it. But what I will say is that Sadie Sink is fantastic in this. The character who she is fantastic. Really worthwhile moments near the end with her. Just phenomenal. And I think the only complaint I have there is that they really shortchanged her on screen time. She should have been throughout this entire film. I cannot even understand whose idea it was. Maybe it was Marvel. Maybe it was Sony. I'm not sure. But whoever decided that they were going to diminish her story in a way or push it to the end made a mistake. It should have started right at the beginning. I think the film almost should have opened with her scenes, gotten into the rest of the film, and gone from there, or dealt with it another way. I'm not a filmmaker, but I'm going to say that there were other ways to deal with this that didn't compact her storytelling into kind of the end of this film. So that's the only major complaints I have. Aside from that, I had a blast. I took my daughter. We both loved it. We rarely agree on these films. Usually she loves almost everything, but we both talked about after and said how much we adored this film. It's so much fun. It is serious, but it's heartfelt and honest. It deals with talking about honesty. It deals with talking about friendships, relationships, hardships, and how you get through those hardships. Just fantastic storytelling from start to finish. The script is good. The cinematography is spectacular. I really was blown away by a number of shots in this that really deal with the framing of Spider-Man in a new way. And it shows Spider-Man in a new way, which I thought was very cool. We get some great moments between, you've got Frank Castle, you got the Punisher, you do have the Hulk, and you have Spider-Man. And that's all in one scene. And it's really dealt with perfectly. I thought that was a great moment in the film. The action is practically sublime. I think one of the last big action sequences with Spider-Man is definitely one of the best of the whole film, and it is so well executed. I'm still blown away. And then, a couple of the last major scenes are just tremendous. It makes me excited for if this ties into what we're going to get at the end of the year with Avengers. It makes me excited for that, but it at least makes me excited to see where they take these characters next, because it's such a great step forward for Spider-Man, MJ, and Ned, and all the characters in this. The only thing I would say at the end of all this is that I think it's a shame that the Hulk keeps getting relegated to Hulk smash. I think there's a few great scenes with Bruce Banner in this, and I think they're interesting. I think it lends itself to the story, but I think it's a mistake with where all this episode ends, this film ends, for the Hulk. I think it was a bit of a mistake. I really want to see someone tackle a new story with the Hulk and Bruce Banner and do something new, because he is a phenomenal actor and Mark Ruffalo is amazing, and we're really owed a great story with him now. Long overdue. So let me know once you've seen the film what you think. It definitely has a few mixed reviews at the moment from some of the critics. I think overwhelmingly, though, the thing I heard from my screening last night was wow, and how much fun everyone had in the end, and kind of the scene it leaves at the end with you. In terms of after credits, there is a brief after credit scene, but it doesn't add much to anything, but there is a short one. Let me know in the comments if you have seen the film, what you thought of it, if you're a big Spider-Man fan like me, or what your favorite Spider-Man film is. Be very curious to chat. Thank you very much for watching.